Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the first show of 2021. Thank you very much for joining myself and Mr. Dave Stevens. Dave, how have you been?
I am fantastic. It's a great day for wrestling, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It's about people that don't actually hate wrestling.
No, we do not. No, we do
We
not.
don't.
So we
Some,
have, we have
not all though.
some of it, but not.
Some of it.
It's why we don't talk about WWE, because it's funny if anyone listened to the Nerd to Know basis this week. Brandon and myself kind of talk about that. He doesn't. It's the first time we talked about wrestling, I think, in a year, 2 years. So he's just like, oh, here's all the problems with it. And it's like, this is why we don't talk about wrestling, current wrestling, as that much on the Rewind, because it's very upsetting.
And for those keeping track, it took about 1 minute for Dara to plug one of his other shows into this one. So new record. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff if you're watching on YouTube, so you get notified when we go live on Friday, etc., etc. Thanks for the support.
Well, I was segueing into another show we're going to do, because we're not only doing one show this week, Dave. We're actually going to do two. Thanks
you
to
say?
Yes, two. Thanks to James Penny. We're on Sunday night. We're going to be doing the best of 2020, our best and worst. So basically, it's just going to be me and Dave pushing Emma and AJ Styles for the entire thing.
I don't know why you think that's all I'll be talking about. I don't know.
I don't know why. It's just a hunch.
You know what made me happy this week? I was wearing my my AJ Styles face mask, which I got for reasons, and I love it. It happens about once a month for somebody to be like, nice mask. I'm like, yes, found an AJ fan.
But yeah, we will be joined by some guests. So yeah, keep an eye on the social media. Actually, we'll do a channel announcement on the Rewind channel when it goes live, so you guys can catch in and have some fun in that sense, because we wanted to be a bit interactive. So if you're around, drop in, and yeah, we'd love to have you there. But tonight we have a pay-per-view to cover. It is a pay-per-view that we haven't got to, but we've meant to get to for quite some time, and it is WWE's Armageddon from 1999. Dave, yeah, so this was in Florida. I remember this exceedingly well. Like crazy well. And it was this week, about 20 something years ago, 21 years ago. But yeah, so we're going to break this down and kind of talk about it match by match. But before we do you have any opening thoughts on this, Dave?
I mean, it's the most Florida show you could possibly imagine, so I think they hit the nail on the head with location there. Something wacky's gonna bizarre, outlandish, and completely acceptable. It's gonna happen in Florida, so it makes sense that this is where this pay-per-view was filmed.
Oh man, absolutely. But yeah, man, like I don't know, I liked the show as a kid. Again, watching Attitude Era stuff as a child, probably not a good thing to do, but it was the biggest thing in the world, right? It's like, if my parents weren't watching this, they didn't know what was going on.
You're glad they weren't, because you would not have made it far on this pay-per-view. Oh my gosh, this is definitely the most Attitude Era-ish pay-per-view that didn't happen in the Attitude Era.
It did happen in the Attitude Era. It was 1999. It was smack bang in the Attitude Era.
Wait, this was this was December. This is after Russo left.
Still the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era goes all the way up to WrestleMania 17.
Agree to disagree.
Fair enough. But you like, man, come on, like, there's so much that happens in this. I will be flipping back and forward through the cards so you guys kind of get a look at kind of what's going on. But opening thoughts before we kind of get into it a bit more.
Man, I had fun. It's not an A, it's not a B, but it is fun. It ties together a bunch of storylines. It opens up some new ones. It pushes the lines of just how like corny this company can possibly be at times. Wow. I don't think I can do anything aside from match by match, because this one.
Whew. Right. Well, we talked about, and I will be, as I said, I will be flashing the card back and forward throughout the show. So I'll just have it pulled up there.
You thought Sold Out was bad. Welcome to Armageddon.
Oh, here, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. I don't think that's fair, Dave. I don't think that's fair at all.
Well, Dara, people's opinions are subjective.
People have wrong opinions too.
I know people have wrong opinions. I'm trying to placate you for enjoying this. Well, here, I'll give you this. The poster, amazing.
Yeah, but Taker wasn't there.
That's why I'm saying this pay-per-view is the most Florida pay-per-view you could possibly have. The main featured guy is not there. Yeah,
but here's the thing: he was injured since August. I'm like, why didn't you figure that out? What were you doing? You had 3 months, 4 months.
Okay, let's just compare right now. Okay, 1999, the WWE advertises Undertaker on the poster, and then he's not even on the show. Fast forward 20 years, they don't advertise Taker at all, and he has a match at WrestleMania. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
WWE, right? But yeah, okay, right. So this show started off with a battle royale. Now, it wasn't a battle royale, which is weird because they've named it. It was a tag team turmoil match. That's what they called it on the show.
Yes.
Don't know why Wikipedia call it a battle royale, because it wasn't. I remember specifically it was a tag team turmoil match. They made it very clear that's what it was. And this had a bunch of teams on it. So I'm just going to read through the teams. And I remember thinking, I think I enjoyed the show a lot more because it followed Survivor Series, which was a very meh show. And this was a lot more.
We covered that one.
It was a letdown.
Yeah. We didn't actually post it, but we both watched it a couple weeks ago.
Did we not post it? I think we did post it.
We didn't do a show. Oh, that was 98. We did 99,
we covered
98, or was it?
Yeah, we did 99. Yeah.
We did 99. Okay.
We're professionals, I swear, guys. We're absolute professionals.
We know what we're doing.
But anyway, okay. So the Godfather, Mark Henry, were a team. The Headbangers, Moss and Trasher, which are one of my favorite tag teams. I think they're cast. Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, the Mean Street Posse, Too Cool, and Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, and Farouk and Bradshaw. So the winner of this would obviously get a tag team title shot at the Royal Rumble, which we will talk about in January. And boy, are you in for a treat, Dave. It is some show.
In the back of my head, I'm just thinking, well, at least he didn't make me watch December to Dismember. So I've got that going for me.
Well, here's the thing. We could...
shut up.
Let us know if you want us to cover December to Dismember. Leave it in the comments below or write to us and let us know. nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com. So, Dave, 10-minute match. Pointless eliminations, filler.
Wasn't really sure of what the rules were. First time in my life I've ever seen, and maybe it's happened before, but first time I've ever seen, well, the one referee was looking the other way, so this person wasn't eliminated. I was like, wait, what?
Yep.
How does that even...
If you didn't see it...
Didn't happen.
If you didn't see it, it didn't happen. And this was Attitude Era WWE, so a lot of that stuff flew. I have to say, I really like the set of this show. The actual set was really cool with the cars and the post-apocalyptic stuff. The intro was... I know you were kind of weird about the intro, but I thought it was cool.
Well, no, my question is, and if you guys have gone back and watched this on the network, and you also saw it at the time, maybe you can answer. Was that the same music for that video package as originally was there in 1999?
The weird opera music?
The Elvira, ephemeral.
Yeah.
Don't take my blood. I'm family. You can't. It was weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
Really, really weird. Speaking of weird, though, I am not sad that it's not too long after this that the Dudley Boys lose their stupid stutter.
To be fair, they took that away from ECW, so... Yeah,
they took a lot from ECW. The camo, which they stole from New Jack's tag team, or or the glasses, which I say that also might have been a New Jack thing. They ripped New Jack and tag off quite a bit.
Well, no, I didn't like it.
Interviews are to be believed.
I wasn't a fan of the stuttering thing as a kid, and now watching it as an adult, I'm like, yeah, it still doesn't work. You know, I don't think it even worked in ECW, but look, it was what it was. It was a very short-lived thing. By the time 2000 rolls around, they're not doing it anymore. They just start putting old ladies through tables, so that got them over way more.
I agree. I don't even think it's that I hated. I mean, I did hate the fact that Bubba did it. It was more hearing like Jim Ross on commentary do it when referring to the Dudleys.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That I didn't. I was like, why?
But see, these are the points that we bring up sometimes on the show where we're kind of disgusted by Jim Ross for not knowing, for like he should know better, and then he does something, and you're like, what are you doing? You're not the king. By the way, were you keeping score of King's?
I lost track
of King being king. Oh, you were?
Oh, okay. I lost track.
Yeah. Because there's a reason for that. Because
this is easily the kingiest king. Yeah, we've covered.
Yeah. He's just unhinged at certain points in time. It's like
he really is. What year did he marry? Well, we'll get to that. We'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay, so the Hardys won, and they eliminated. The Acolytes won, and they eliminated the Hardy Boys. Now, here's what's weird, because when we cover the Royal Rumble, the Acolytes aren't going for the belts. It's the Dudleys defending against the Hardys in tables match.
Wait, did we do Rumble 2000? I swear I pay attention.
We haven't done it yet, but we will, because it's the next thing on the timeline.
So you're telling me that even though the APA won this match, that they don't go on to actually fight for the titles at the Royal Rumble?
No.
Am I understanding you correctly?
No, they do not. No.
Completely logical. Makes sense to me.
Makes all the sense in the world. Booking. Mm-hmm. So Kurt Angle has his second WWE pay-per-view match next with Steve Blackman, a much better match than he had with Meat Sean Stasiak the month before. Look, Steve Blackman is great. He should have been. It's weird. I had a conversation with Bryn during the week about how awesome Steve Blackman should have been. Apparently people keep asking him, where's Steve Blackman? And it's like, that's a fair question. I asked that too, because I like Steve Blackman. But
is he like the 2020s Perry Saturn? Like, we don't know where he is. He's just off like saving people.
No, it's more just kind of like Steve Blackman still wrestling, and no one ever mentions Steve Blackman, and they probably should. It's like, hey, he's
not missing. People do know where he is. He's just not.
It's just weird he hasn't shown up yet in like AEW or Impact or on a Legends night, because
he's avoided all of that. I wonder if there's bad blood between him and somebody in the McMahon family.
I don't know. It's just, his story is fascinating. We might get into the Steve Blackman story eventually, but
like, bring him in for those terrible Raw segments Shane's doing. Make him the referee.
Oh, they stopped doing that, dude.
Good thing we didn't do Dave Doesn't Follow the News, because I don't know what's happened in the past month of wrestling.
Nothing.
You could tell me anything and I would believe you. You could tell me that Kenny Omega had a match against Rich Swann and he walked away with both the the Impact and the AEW titles, and I believe you, because I don't know.
Okay, well, just to follow up, Raw did have a Legends segment, and it was pretty awful. Oh, okay, here's the thing, Dave. Time for Dave Doesn't Watch Wrestling. Which is our main event for Royal Rumble? So is it Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg? Drew McIntyre versus who's come up? Who is there? Versus Randy Orton, or Drew McIntyre versus The Fiend?
Oh God, please don't be right. Goldberg?
It's Goldberg.
Oh God.
Yeah. The present nobody wanted. They're giving it to you anyway. And here's the thing: Goldberg will probably win. So.
But that means Drew never gets to have it. No, why? Who is subscribing to the network to watch a gray-chested bald man go out there and pretend to be a monster when he probably? As far as I'll go, in case I want to interview him one day. But oh my gosh, stick to your History Channel reality show, Goldberg. Go back to your cars on like TLC or whatever show that was. Like,
so there you go. Man. And this is why we're going back to the past, because it's more fun and safe there.
I got to do it so my kids get to see me. No.
Yeah.
You have anything else I missed this week? Try not to hate wrestling, or you're really not helping my cause.
Hulk Hogan came out and put himself over and put down Drew and the rest.
Well, that's nonsense.
The entire backstage were really upset that Hulk Hogan was there for obvious reasons.
Wait, but there's no audience. So what's the payoff? The payoff with Hogan is like, that time he came back to WWE and got like a 10-minute standing ovation. Like what?
Payoff is that the ratings are in the toilet, and WWE need to have more of an adult product apparently. So their answer is to just wheel out Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart for some reason.
Oh, I love Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, but will Hulk Hogan though?
I mean, I love them both. But I don't know what to tell you.
That's fair. That's
clearly
fair.
I'd miss something if my love is not allowed to be. But I love them both.
Yeah, but what I will say is like Melina showed up as well, and she did nothing.
No,
she just said Lucha, and that was it. Molly
She's
Holly
still with Batista. You're welcome, people from the mid 2000s that know what I'm referencing.
No, it was bad. Look, it was a bad show, and it benefited nobody. So yeah, Raw is still
best entrance in wrestling though for quite some time up until.
But she can't do
Ricochet.
it anymore.
Oh no.
Well, no, she's like 10 years older, man. I'm assuming that probably took a while to limber up for.
That's true.
Okay. Anyway, so there we go. So moving on.
That's the news that I wasn't aware of from this week. Wait, something happened news-wise. I did get. Oh, I do want to give I do pay slightly attention to wrestling news, by the way. Shout out to AEW. That was well done for Brody Lee.
Brody Lee, yeah, and obviously we were. Look, obviously we didn't go live. We just didn't do a show during the time that happened. So yeah, look, man, that was shocking. Like just that fact that Brody Lee died, Luke Harper died.
I was literally watching a video of wrestlers. It was called I think WrestleMania. Shout out, put it up. And it was like wrestlers that will never be allowed, or Coldaholic, one of those good channels. Will never be allowed back in WWE. And then literally it was like found out about the news. But I thought AEW was they were carny with it, which they should have been. And then they were also super respectful because you could tell it's genuinely his friends. And even WWE made acknowledgement. So,
but WWE made acknowledgements the whole week and still kind of are, where it's like even on the network they're still doing stuff, and I think it's kind of like a really classy way to do it as well. Some people are like, look, they're trying to make money off Brody Lee by showing all these shows on the network. It's like, what are you talking about? You're already paying for the network. This makes no sense.
You're already paying for the network. If they make shows like that, it's not going to increase viewership. All it's going to do is get his I don't know if he was married or whatever,
royalties.
But somebody will.
He was married.
Right? Yeah, so his wife will get the royalties from the things that WWE puts out there, which is a lot of money. So
absolutely,
that's good.
So it's like, look, this zealot religious fervor around AEW to hate WWE. Don't do it. Like even his wife actually. It's funny you mentioned his wife actually came out and said, "Look, can you please not hate on WWE? They gave my husband a lot of opportunities. He was frustrated with them, but he didn't hate them. Please stop."
No, not at all. And you know what? That's what I'm saying. Both companies did things, and I'm just props to both of them. It was handled well.
Absolutely. Look, it's I think now moving forward with WWE and its interaction with stuff like this, it's like one of the best things about the celebration of his life, which is what it kind of came off as more than like a memorial kind of thing. There was that too, but the way they did it was really good. It was like it featured kind of everyone. It wasn't just only AEW, and I only because AEW are AEW could they really do this. WWE just wouldn't, which I think really you see how much it's missed. Like, but the fact that they could have WWE guys in there and all that kind of stuff, it was really cool. But yeah, man,
but we know,
it's devastating.
Obviously, this reasoning sucks, but it's the truth. WWE will never do a full dedicated show like that ever because of what happened back in 05 or 04, whatever. It just won't happen.
Well, yeah, I think the situation was very different. Like, we had the TNT match where he lost the belt, and it was to be fair, it was a really good match. It was a really good match. And if that's a swan song, then but obviously it was a swan song. But like, to do that while you're so sick is also amazing as well. At the same time, like nobody knew that. Obviously, he didn't tell anybody. He was just disappeared off TV, and the news kind of hit everybody really hard because, like, obviously you were watching TV, you don't expect it to happen, and he wasn't old either. He was like 40 something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but yeah, man, poor guy. His kid apparently loved him. The AW, like, he was his hero, and you listen to what they said, it's devastating. Like when you really check it out, and fair play to AW.
He was one of those guys that he was local. For me, growing up, so when I went to independent shows that had 20 people out, he was there. So
but you could tell he actually like loved it though. That's the thing, It was more than just a job for him, and like obviously the impact he had is huge. Nowhere near what it would have been if his career had kept going. But to do all the matches he had in WWE and then to do the run he had in AEW and to finish off at that level, it's amazing. Will he be a Hall of Fame guy? WWE probably will put him in with the Wyatt family in the future. It's just, and that's when he'll probably go in, I'd say. But man, it is sad. Fair play to AEW though, because they really helped his son. They gave him a contract and said when he's 18 he can come in. They've been doing stuff, and it's sad, but it's one of those situations where it's like, as sad as it was, AEW also showed kind of why they're important, because it shows how different doing things like this is good, and how WWE misses the boat by being so opposed to doing stuff like this. It's just like, look what you're missing out on. Look the send off you're losing because you refuse to work with other people. But look, it is what it is. And again, look, we're from everyone from Nerd to Know Media. It's condolences go to his family and also to his friends and his son. But it's really sad. It really is. But moving swiftly on, some other bits of news and some recommendations actually. New Year's Evil was on yesterday. Really good match with Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor for the NXT belt. You should totally watch it. If you guys haven't seen it yet, watch it. It's a really good match. Okay, so getting back to the pay-per-view hand here.
He's in NXT.
Yeah, he's been there for ages, man.
I thought he was in Impact.
No.
Oh no, he was part. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was mixing him up with that person I was thinking of. Gotcha.
Okay. No. He's been there for a while, but Finn Balor moved back down and he's killing it. It's great. It's a very, very good match. Actually, the whole New Year's Evil is quite good. Rhea Ripley had a really good match too. Too bad she's
gonna be a star.
Well, she's going up to the main roster. We'll see what happens. I hope she becomes a big star, but WWE ain't very good with looking after the top stars, which is why Finn Balor is back in NXT to try and save his career, which he's doing. So
that doesn't maybe. No, it's another show.
Yeah. Anyway,
let's get back. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's get.
Did I miss anything else? Nothing good. Nothing else has changed.
No. The 3 minutes of the most Kingish match ever.
Oh my goodness!
So
I miss.
Yeah. So this was an evening gown pool match.
What?
For the WWF Women's Championship.
If you watch only one thing on this pay-per-view, watch this match.
Watch this match.
That is my recommendation. This must be watched.
Watch this match.
Not just because the match is, 6 stars. It's perfection, but also the commentary is great as well. And hey, if you want to see a little bit of Miss Kitty,
you do see a lot of Miss Kitty.
You get the rhyme. You got the rhyme. If you're listening, you got the rhyme.
Okay.
If you're not, if you're watching, see, I'm making. Yeah, see, it's a pun. I'm making a pun.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for your pun. So,
I just want you to cover this in depth and have your mom walk in. That's like my dream.
No,
that's what I've been hoping for all day.
No, thanks. That's not going to happen.
Or something.
No, thank you.
Well, why don't you fill in for people who missed this classic of
it wasn't
wrestling
a classic
theater? Fill people in on just how amazing this was.
It wasn't amazing.
Well, you're wrong. Continue.
It's the most Attitude Era thing ever. It literally funnels everything that people think the Attitude Era was. It encapsulates it in one pristine match, right? Where it's like, this is exactly what people think it was. And look, you can't defend it. Like, there's no defending it. And
you don't need to defend things that are perfect.
But the fact that King was on commentary as well, just it makes it impossible to defend.
I was asking this earlier. When did they get married? I'm talking about I think the Cat and King.
So the Cat and King were married, right? I think they got married. If not, like, they were married already, or it's very soon after it. But the reason why King left in 2001 was because they fired the Cat. So
they got married in 2000.
Yeah, so it would make sense that
after this.
Yeah, so it would make sense they were involved. Absolutely, absolutely they were.
This okay. Listen, just listen. I'm so happy that you made me watch this pay-per-view for this match.
No,
I am so happy. You know, this is actually the first, according to Wikipedia, that this was the first instance of intentional nudity in WWE.
Intentional nudity.
Plenty of slips. It's hard when you're, a female, but oh my goodness gracious. And I don't say goodness gracious. Where'd that come from? And when she decides to just jump into the pool with see-through stuff, I'm like, what is happening? And then she does the strip, and it was very Kelly ECW. Actually, with a Mike Knox, and this is when I was like, oh, okay. And they didn't do something with Sable and Right to Censor around this time period too. Similar thing, like they come up and wrap them in a towel, right? It's like they expose themselves.
Yeah, like this is one of those, like the Sable thing with the hands as the bikini, that was done a little while before that. And then this was just full on.
Masara later would do the same when she was in Playboy, just like bunnies.
Yeah, but this was very.
How I remember wrestling.
This was very unique. This was very unique in the sense that, like, it only happened once and then kind of never happened again. And the Cat was kind of supposed to be a big thing, but then kind of wasn't. BB shows up now. I don't remember BB at all, except for this one specific thing. And I'm like, why is this? It sounds like they just got a bunch of women and then we're like, right, we just need you to fill in for this one moment so we could do this. And this would actually set up a feud with the Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young, because they got jealous and they wanted to be involved, and then Mae Young would end up getting involved with stripping, and she was in a relationship with Mark Henry, and this would eventually lead to them giving birth to a hand.
Yes. So I mean, that's what I'm saying, people. Without a 6-star match like this, you never get a hand being born in wrestling. Think of what we would have missed out on.
Yeah. Well,
wait, so you mentioned BB. Was that like a mess up or what? When I don't remember, it was Kat or whoever was like trying to take her top off after she got out of the pool, and like you could tell she legitimately was like pulling, and BB was not fighting it like it was supposed to happen, and she like couldn't do it because everything was wet, and she tried like unclasp. It was the most awkward. They were just like, all right, just leave. We're not gonna be able to get this spot in apparently. But that bothered me because then it wouldn't mesh well with Kat's spot at the end of the segment.
Look, the match was a train wreck. It was terrible.
There was like, stop talking about this match.
It like I just remember watching as a kid going, this is really confusing. What is going on? Like, there's no psychology or anything like that here as well.
No psychology? What are you talking about?
There wasn't. It just made no sense.
There was psychology.
There wasn't. And then I'm just
how is there no psychology? Did you not see them team up on Jacqueline early on? Get out the biggest and strongest competitor. That way she's eliminated from the match, and then you guys can go after it. I mean, it's what you do with Andre the Giant. It's what you do with Braun Strowman. How are you telling me?
Pool in evening gowns. There's no psychology. There isn't.
That is psychology. And it wasn't even a kid-sized pool. It was larger than that. Okay, let's get our facts right.
Okay.
It was at least 3 feet deep. All right. And
but the whole point of it was to get Kat to strip.
Yeah.
And King lost his mind.
He went crazy.
And if this had happened today, King would have been cancelled.
If this would have happened today, WWE would be canceled.
That's fair too.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that the Puritanicals haven't gone in and wanted this removed from the WWE network. Like, it's not offensive. It's just, it's unbelievable that it happened. And you're just like, Wow. But it is what it is. It
Can you
exists.
imagine if
Remember?
that happened like in not 2020, I guess in 2019, when everybody has their video cameras on their cell phones and you knew there'd be a lot of pictures coming out of this one.
See, here's the thing, it's like if WWE really wanted to, they could probably do stuff. Well, not now because you can't with crowds, but when crowds come back, they could probably play with the edgier stuff, and it would probably play a lot more because of social media. But you have to have someone managing and booking that, and it's very hard to do that, and you haven't got the foresight for it.
I'm available.
Well,
Hit me up, WWE.
AEW kind of do it a little bit as well when you push the boat out. Now, obviously, don't do this because this is like, the women today, they just wouldn't, which is fair. The women back then, even like Ivory and Jacqueline, were probably kind of peeved at it because they're like, we're actually wrestlers. What's going on? So I do actually feel sorry for them a great deal because I'm like, you guys are actually really good. And then they were thrown into this garbage, and women's wrestling really wouldn't recover it would kind of come up a little bit more in 2001, but then it would just nosedive completely until like 2012, 13.
Well, excuse me for not sharing your sympathy of women getting paid.
Well, they got paid, but
you telling me Kat didn't get a bonus for that?
Dave brings a good point. This is a good point, guys. Remember, it's all about getting paid at the end of the day. Right,
it's just entertainment.
We've now spent longer talking about it
than the actual match and probably the main event. So let's move on. By the way,
hold on.
That's my favorite thing in wrestling at the moment. I just want to get that out there.
Let's not say things we can't take back about the main event now, okay? So we'll get to the main event. Okay, the Hollies.
Wait, this match was so good. Like I hate that we're done it.
The Hollies.
Can we do a whole?
Hollies.
I want to pitch you an idea live. Here.
Okay.
Can we do an entire show of just evening count and bra and panties matches? Like the greatest of all time. Who's putting these lists out on YouTube? Nobody is. Nobody's covering it. This could be our niche, Dara.
Are there enough? I can only think of like 6 of them. So, okay, fair. Surprisingly agile back in the day.
We're of course referring to the next match.
Checking we're still alive here now.
Yeah, very true. Holly Cousins versus Rikishi and Viscera.
Okay, yeah, we're still alive. It's all good. Did
you just take us off? You just like forget it, or did I actually?
No, that was so shocking. You killed my stream.
Oh yeah. We gotta stay on the air, guys. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, look. Next match, Viscera Rikishi. We're defeated. Yeah, I'll just have a notepad edit here. We're defeated by the Hollies. Now, this is hardcore in Crash Holly. Crash Holly had just made his debut a little while ago, and he was the Holly brother, the hardcore Holly's younger cousin. So this was the whole thing, and this would kind of carry through for a little while. I thought this was fun, a silly match on a silly pay-per-view, but I wasn't offended by it. Nice 4-minute squash match.
Wait. Oh, no. Never mind. Wikipedia is just confusing to read sometimes. Oh, you really are editing out our segment right now. You're hilarious.
No,
I can hear it. What do you mean? No, I can hear it through the speakers. So,
all right.
Just to recap, guys, there was a really weird, terrible match with women. We're not going to talk about it because we're above that kind of thing, and it definitely should not ever happen again. And that is my official opinion upon it.
My official opinion. Okay, moving on to the next match. Val Venus defeated the British Bulldog and D'Lo Brown for a triple threat for the greatest belt of all time, the WWF European Championship. Val Venus, was what he was. The British Bulldog, massive decline. We've talked about this. It's every time you see him, it's sadder and sadder. D'Lo Brown looked great though. So props to D'Lo for basically carrying this match with Val Venus. Yeah,
Bulldog did not look. Anytime I see him in jeans and not not his, not his regalia. Yeah.
But remember, he was 2 months before this. He was in the main event. He was in the big story with Triple H and The Rock, and then straight down to the European title. Don't get me wrong. He's synonymous with the European title, and I have a lot of respect for the European title. But going from the WWF Championship to the European title, that's it's pretty bad, man. You know, it's not good. An 8-minute match, very, very quick match, kind of reset the table there for a lot of things. And then we have Kane with Tori in a steel cage match, which was, I actually thought this match was longer than 8 minutes, but it really wasn't. Tori was girlfriend to Kane, and this would be a whole thing. And X-Pac obviously had turned on Kane. They were mates, but when DX got back together, they kicked Kane out. And this would kind of be an ongoing storyline where Tori would turn on Kane in a couple of weeks. We will get to that when it happens. But yeah,
I gotta say, for a character like Kane, he had a lot of relationships, like on-screen relationships.
Oh yeah,
you wouldn't expect. I mean, you have obviously you've got Tori. I mean, okay, granted, sometimes he kidnaps them and takes them back to a boiler room, and then it's like, you know, Stockholm syndrome. But I digress. You got Tori. You had AJ Lee. You had Lita. You had I'm missing somebody else in there.
Forgot about AJ Lee.
Yeah, there's a really weird picture of them kissing.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Just make it our thumbnail for this week. People will click on our video.
There's a good list as well we should do while we're doing the evening gown matches.
Kane's so you're in for this. Sold. Darren's like, well, Dave will do the prep that week. What do I care?
Yeah, it's like, I'll just respond to it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, we could probably look into that as a list because, yeah, he had loads of relationships. Next, I think Taker never had any relationships other than Sarah and Michelle McCool, but they were like his real life relationships. Yeah. He didn't have any like on screen ones. I know he tried to like dark wedding marry Stephanie, but don't think that counts. Yeah, so that would be about it. Like, but Kane got around.
Yeah,
he really
did. Burn victim. He did.
Well, no, see, that's the thing. At this point, it was a burn victim, but then it was psychological.
Oh, right, psychological scars.
So
yeah. Now I gotta say, this is the second time I'm mentioning a spinning heel kick, but oh my gosh, X-Pac did them so well.
Dude, X-Pac was phenomenal.
When he is in his prime and he's not doing things that make him not able to compete up to his normal prime, oh my goodness, is he worth every penny that he brought into that company.
Some of the best matches that you can watch actually around this time are when Jericho just teams, like as we said, like last time we were Jericho X-Pac was one of the best matches of that year, and it's just great because he kind of worked with anybody, you know. His actual tag team with Kane was very, very good for that specific reason as well, because of the big man small man dynamic. But this cage match was super good. I really enjoyed it. Again, good.
Now I didn't quite understand the rules at first.
Yeah. Okay. What did you understand?
Because let's note, it wasn't your standard Hell in a Cell. It wasn't your standard cage match. It's not like you escape the ring and you win.
No, you can't escape. You have to pin or submission. To be fair, right? I'm going to go on record now and say I actually hate escape the cage matches. I think every cage, because it doesn't make any sense. Every cage match should be pinfall or submission.
Or under current rules, every cage match should be I hit you in the face with a steel chair and I run up and I escape the cage and the match is over in 30 seconds. Like literally every cage match should go that way. But now that said, Kane leaping from the top of a cage, I never saw that. I was completely shocked with that spot. I've never seen it in a highlight video of his or anything.
See, this is what I mean. Like there's so much good stuff happening around this time period as well. We're coming into the best year for wrestling ever. 2000 is the best year for wrestling. Everyone is completely on top of the game. The Monday Night Wars are still raging again, because even though WCW is going down the tubes, it still looks viable for another year or two. So the matches, they're still pulling them out, and Kane does some great stuff. Like, it's weird because this time period is like that weird transition period from Monster Kane to Brother of Destruction Kane. and everybody overlooks it because it's kind of cringy when you go back and look at the actual storyline. But the match work is really solid. Like, he has some great matches.
Kane is really
throughout.
good.
Kane is really good. Kane's always been really good. It's just they didn't really know what to do with him, and it just so happened that the Undertaker stuff stuck better in people's mind. But when he wasn't with Taker, like now, there's some good stuff, and this is it. The cage match is definitely, in all seriousness, if there's one match to watch on this, is probably the cage match. You'll have a great time watching it. The next match, not so much. Jericho versus China with Miss Kitty for the IC Championship. Now remember, Jericho has lambasted China many times for how poor she was in the ring. And then the Royal Rumble match, which they have next month, is in his autobiography as like one of the worst matches he ever had. And I haven't seen it in a while, so I'll let you know. But this match was really poor. And you could tell Jericho's ring gear is cool though, but you could tell he wasn't happy.
Beard. I don't like beard the beard he was sporting.
Yeah, beard looks weird. I don't like it myself, but the ring gear is cool. The red barbed wire stuff looks class.
I did like that.
But
we talked about before. I was under the impression that China was some amazing wrestler, and she wasn't.
No, she wasn't. She was.
I've yet to see a good match of hers.
She was just first past the post to break everything. It's like if you want to see someone who wrestles like China but can actually wrestle, Beth Phoenix. Beth Phoenix is what WWE would have you believe China was. And that's no disrespect to China. Like she did a lot for
Natalia.
Yeah, well, Natalia has no personality.
Okay, that's fair. So more Beth Phoenix. You don't have to apologize to China. She can't hear you there.
Edit that out too.
Oh, sure. I say it and it stays in the show. You say it.
I know. We don't edit out anything here on this show.
And we're back. So
unless James is listening, it's like you have to edit it out of the show. That's really not good. All right. So
I love you, True Ben.
We had absolutely. I'm so excited for you to do a show with him.
I'm really excited.
I can't wait. It's gonna be the best. He fully just doesn't know what he's asked for, which is the best part.
No, I'm pretty sure he's never watched one of our shows, or if he has, but like 5 minutes worth.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
He's a good piece. So after this,
the Rock and Sock Connection defeated the New Age Outlaws by disqualification. A poor showing in this. Like, obviously the Rock's the Rock, and the Rock and Sock Connection was a weird tag team that came up really strangely.
Joke, really, yeah.
It wasn't a joke. It was more kind of like it just kind of happened because of the way Triple H was treating Mick Foley at this time in storyline. Like the Royal Rumble storyline, I don't know if you've actually seen the Royal Rumble match, but it's one of the best storylines that comes as a direct result of this. Like, the Triple H Mick Foley stuff is probably one of the best. Actually, there's a great thing on the network, Behind the Legends or Story Time or whatever. It's one of the highlight shows that I don't know. They come up with stupid names, but anyway, they have them, and one of them is about the Madison Square Garden match, but actually covers in a lot of the feud. I would say watch that if you haven't, because it's unbelievable, and it kind of goes into it in more detail. But the Rock and Sock Connection showed up because remember at the beginning of 1999. The Rock literally was trying to murder Mankind with a steel chair.
At the Royal Rumble. Talked about that. It was quite.
Yeah, it's horrific. But there's this weird element of respect that's happening because The Rock became full blown face around SummerSlam. So this is him kind of almost rehabilitating himself, and it kind of just happens where The Rock and Mankind team up and they become this beloved tag team.
One of my favorite, I think we all have little moments that are just one of our favorites in wrestling. And, for me, one of mine is when The Rock's glasses fall off and Foley, like mid-promo, and The Rock doesn't move because he's The Rock. He's not going to pick up glasses. And Mick Foley just bends over and puts them back on The Rock and nod. And obviously that's all ad-lib because it was that shows you two people have such great chemistry together. They did. Why, even though it's odd that The Rock and Sock or The Rock versus Sock matches were, when they weren't murder, they were really enjoyable.
Oh, for sure. Like, I think there's no two better people at the time that had that chemistry other than Triple H and The Rock, or Triple H and Mankind, to have that same kind of dynamic. But it's not in this match. The match is not good. And it's no one's fault. It's just it's a throwaway match to build to something else. And it's also it's a weird placement too, because it's before the weirdest WWE title match that we would see for about 4 years after this. It's just bizarre. And yeah, it just kind of loses a lot of its luster. But again, like, what I will say is this is one of the cases where the actual run up to the Royal Rumble is more important than ever. And actually, we might cover it. We might even like look into that in detail as its own show before we talk about the Royal Rumble 2000, because all the stuff that you should see just comes out of nowhere. They do like 6 weeks of build after this, and it's weird. So we'll have to get into it. But yeah, it's not good. Like, this was a very forgettable segment. Next one, speaking of forgettable, the Big Show and the Big Boss Man with Prince Albert, which I forgot about.
I was like, why is he in the ring?
Yeah, it was strange.
No.
So this is for the WWF Championship. Just so people are aware, the Big Show is the WWF champion. Big Boss Man, who I love, he's my boy, is the challenger. This happened.
So I've heard the Big Boss Man cut promos in the back, but for whatever reason, and maybe I've just forgotten them, this was the first time that I remember listening to one of his promos in the ring. And that dude could own the crowd and a microphone. I wish they had explored more of that when they had the opportunity.
But here's the weird thing, right? Big Boss Man at the went from, as we said, we talked about the decline of the British Bulldog.
Mm.
The Big Boss Man started the year in the hardcore division and ascended up. And at WrestleMania, he got hung from the Hell in a Cell by the Undertaker, and he ascended all the way up to finishing the year, basically in the main event.
I mean, personally, I feel like anybody that's willing to take a sleigh ride on a casket deserves to be in the main event.
It's weird that, like,
Tara's like, well, maybe, I don't know.
It was a 3-minute squash match.
You're just gonna totally look over this storyline?
No, I'm not. No, I'm getting back to it. It was a 3-minute squash match. So, it's let down by the fact that the build to it, which was a build which they'll never do. Well, you know what? WWE probably would do this again. They have done it again with the Eddie Guerrero stuff and some other abhorrent things that they still like to do. But anyway, it's no matter how.
I'm gonna forget about it. What was the crazy? Big Show did a move in the. He did a kip up.
He did a kip
or a
up,
nip up, depending on how you decide to say it. Pretty cool. I mean, yeah, he had to use the rope and use his hand, but dude,
but this is why WWE got really pissed off with him a couple of years later, because he just got so out of shape. They had to send him back to OVW.
True.
Because when they brought him in, he'd only debuted in February at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So, he wasn't young. He'd already been world champion in WCW and gone through the Dundee with the NWO and all that stuff. So when he arrived, he did get quite a big push, and obviously he was under the learning tree of the Undertaker as well for a little while. But this was the first time they really go for it, and they kind of crippled him a little bit by doing the storyline that they did. To be fair, I think if it had been any other storyline, well, it probably wouldn't have been as memorable. We wouldn't be talking about it 20 odd years later, but I think this damaged the Big Show irrevocably, and you'll see it now at the Royal Rumble. Well, that damage doesn't go away.
Here's what I'm wondering, because you're saying, there was a definitive decline in his wrestling ability.
I didn't say his wrestling ability. I said in his overall presentation, and he ends up putting on an awful lot of weight.
You're talking about his maneuvering and such as well. So I'm trying to look up, and I might not be able to find it, but I'm curious when he had his surgery.
Well, if it was before, was it before 2006?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. And for those who don't know what I'm referencing, Big Show had the same pituitary gland issue that
As
Andre had.
joint. Yep.
The surgery did not exist, so unfortunately he died young. Big Show was actually able to get this done. It's an endocrine system thing. I'm trying to see if it says right here. Oh no, actually, it says the surgery was in the early 90s.
Right, so he would have already had it by then. Now, the main problem from what I've heard,
his ring size is 22. That's going to be an expensive Hall of Fame ring.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, it was what it was. I was happy for the Big Show to kind of get this. Big Boss Man at the time, I was like, oh man, he lost. That sucks. But this would kind of be it for a while with the Big Show in a lot of sense. Like, you'll see what happens and see why I say that. But it definitely was it for the Big Boss Man. Like, he never reached this height again. This was it. So weird flash in the pan kind of thing. But definitely one nobody will forget, and they still haven't for obvious reasons. So getting on to the actual main event, which the reason why they kind of split it was because this was a no holds barred match. It pretty much was like I don't think it was non-sanctioned. I just think it was not a no holds barred. Since Triple H, if he won, would become number one contender for the WWF Championship. And if Vince McMahon won, Triple H and Stephanie would have to receive an annulment. Now, why do I say that? Why is that important? Oh my God, why is that important? Well, all throughout the year, Stephanie was dating Test. And Test was supposed to... And the storyline initially was that Stephanie was supposed to turn on Test. And then Test was supposed to be Triple H, basically. Right? That was supposed to be what happened. Or like face Triple H, where he defeats evil Stephanie, all that kind of stuff. That didn't happen. And apparently, up until a week beforehand, that was the plan. And then they changed the plan, where Triple H, the character, not the man, he
became one of the best political maneuvers in the history of professional wrestling. I'm
trying to tell the story of what happened, where basically he did something that if it happened now again, people would be up in arms. He drugged Stephanie and married her.
I see. Okay.
And then implied that he also consummated it in a promo, which is obviously what it is. And and he revealed this information via the Titantron during Stephanie's wedding on Raw. Right. And if you're a wrestling fan, if there's a wedding on Raw, that wedding isn't happening.
Speaking of Kane.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, if someone's getting married on a wrestling show, it's not happening. So this was, obviously very shocking. And it's funny, I remember the WWE magazine at the time, they did a whole big thing about it, whereas it was proper kayfabe, where it's like, it literally was supposed to be real, but then obviously when it wasn't, it was shocking headlines, blah, blah, blah.
Well, what was the match we had to cover rather?
Test and Shane?
Test and Shane, yeah, so that Test had the right to
marry her.
Date Steph. Can we what is with this $1 billion princess thing?
Well,
now, here's that said, oh my gosh, watching early 90s Stephanie, I'm in love.
Yeah, I know, me too. It's just I know. Yeah, early 90s Stephanie is just, late 90s Stephanie, not early 90s Stephanie. Early 2000s Stephanie.
Oh, yeah. Early, asterisk, didn't mean early 90s. Yeah. I'm not Macho okay. Man. I apologize.
We're not touching that one, but for anyone who doesn't know, look up Stephanie and Macho Man. There are rumors.
Allegedly.
But listen, look, she was an absolute stunner. So, I can totally see why Triple H was like, hey, it's actually, there's in the storyline thing, and I will say, watch it, the actual show. There's a bit they talk about it, that they weren't dating, but they kind of started falling for each other around this time. And in the Royal Rumble match, Triple H actually kisses her, and that's the first time he actually kissed her. And she's like, oh well, what just happened? And then Triple H pretty much gets killed in the match, and the whole time she's like, "Oh wow, I actually feel really, you know." So this is when it kind of they clicked, you know, and the way they do it is quite good. I will say, anyone who watch it, it really humanizes everybody a lot. But yeah, man, like this was it. Like this was like the big moment that changed wrestling forever and would shape wrestling even to nowadays. Like this whole storyline is the root of everything that we see now, good and bad, where it's like the Authority, Triple H and Stephanie, you know, Mick Foley being his relationship with the McMahons, The Rock. It's incredible. This is like this for me. I would say people need to kind of get on board with this, because I don't know why. For me, it's like this is up there with the Curtain Call. This is up there with Screwjob. This is like a pinnacle moment in wrestling that just people overlook for some reason. I don't know why, because they hate Triple H. I don't know why either. But anyway,
that's because you stopped watching wrestling in 2003.
And I made a good decision. But look, so
no, I agree with you. Like I love. It's interesting to see. Oh God, I'm about to say we're old. It's weird to see Triple H as a kid wrestling. You know what I mean?
Well, this is how I remember Triple H. This is when I say about Triple H, this is what I'm talking about.
All right. Yeah. No, I get that.
You know, this is like
it works.
Absolutely. But so what would happen then is Vince and Triple H already had a brutal match on SmackDown for the WWE belt, which Austin would come out and help him win to set up the 6-pack challenge. Right. Shenanigans aplenty. So this would be their second match that they had, but this would actually be more of a match than the last one, which was just Triple H killing Vince. And it was a good 30-minute match. They went all over the place. They used everything. Shopping carts. Mick Foley shows up with a shopping cart full of weapons, which was fun. Loads of like funny spots and stuff like that. A violent match, but one that kind of worked. And then the big turn happened.
Well, before we get to the turn, and we are talking about the match.
Okay.
One of the things people have always said about Vince is he'll never ask you to take a spot that he himself would not take.
He took a lot of spots in this one. Crazy spots.
A lot of spots. Now, then I have an issue. And I have a big issue with Vince the wrestler.
He's not a wrestler.
For years. I know, but I'm talking about Vince the wrestler.
Okay.
When he chooses to wrestle. Just like Shane's not a wrestler. But
Shane,
I get it. He's the best in the world. Let's cut that. Listen.
Oh no! What are you doing? No,
I know. For you, he really is the best in the world. That was a legitimate trophy. I get it. He's nobody will ever compare to Shane.
See, but Dave trolling again.
My point, Katie. My point is that.
Right, go on.
Is that, and it's like, okay. So we often mock Shane for the guy can't punch. He just can't. No. Well, I mean, he can punch. He does take martial arts. He can't wrestling punch. His dad is so much worse. And it's not the punching. It was the hitting with the trash cans and the sled. I mean, I've never seen somebody decide to hit people with a trash can and go side to side and just brush their head instead of going front on. And even the couple of times he did go front on, it was like barely an indentation made. Like that's what the aluminum's for. Like, I don't know. Is it not as much practice, or like, how does that?
Like,
do you agree or do you disagree with me that he does not make wrestling look convincing?
I would say that this is the best performance of Vince McMahon, the wrestler. His other matches have not been very, like his matches with Austin were far worse. His matches with Hulk Hogan were horrific. His match with Bret Hart was horrific. His match with Stephanie was stomach churning, the disturbing.
His match with Shane I kind of liked.
His match with Shane was very good. His match with Shane was really good. And that's his best match as a wrestler with Shane. But it's, I think they worked on it a bit more. I think this shows like the improvement of Vince, because remember, Vince started off the year in the Royal Rumble, winning the Royal Rumble, which is weird. Yes. So that was bad, and he had a pretty bad cage match with Austin. I'm gonna have like a series of 1989. Vince was really active in the ring.
Yeah, it's because he was in, really getting strong.
Yeah, he was really active in the ring. And
Muscle and Fitness magazine would have loved him during this period, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. But look, he can't throw a punch.
It's it's not the punches. For Shane, it's the punches. For Vince, it's the weapons.
Well, again, like how often will Vince be in the ring with weapons that wasn't a chair? You know, it's like he was. This was like a weird anomaly. Like you wouldn't really see him doing these spots again until we would get to WrestleMania 2001 with the street fight. So it's really outside of his wheelhouse, and you can tell that. I just wish they would have maybe worked on it more. But what I would say, I'm willing to overlook it because the story was so good and everything around it was so good, and the legitimate shock, Dave. You don't understand this. The shock of the twist was real because everybody, as I said to you, they had built up this for like a year, and in every bit of media, like obviously the internet was a thing, but you know, I remember going on WWE.com in the 90s, and you would just sit there waiting for it to load. So, True. You know, it just wasn't a thing. So you bought the magazines or whatever, and all the magazines were all about how real this was, you know, and yeah, man, like people were shocked. I was shocked. I remember going, "Whoa, this is crazy! This is actually unbelievable." Stephanie's acting is very good, but it turns out it probably was less acting than than it seemed at the time.
She's always been great at that. I mean, I don't, no fault in her stars there. It's just, I don't know. I don't know about your apologist, Vince the wrestler. I mean, you're basically saying, well, this guy drives a horse and a buggy all the time, so why can't he fly an airplane? Like,
well, look, no, I'm not saying. Look, if the difference was if it was, I
get it. It's not his wheelhouse. It's not where he generally does things.
No, what I'm saying is,
it could have been better.
Of course, could have been better. I'm assuming, like, if he was working house shows, doing hardcore matches every week, yeah, he'd probably pick it up. But the fact that
all right, fine, I agree. In there, you made a good point.
Yeah, if he's in there just having the match.
All right, I was wrong. Rub it in.
No, it's okay. No, I'm just saying.
Like, no, I'm trying to. I guess I should just focus on the fact that it bothered me that he couldn't throw weapons correctly.
No, well, that's fair, but I don't think you're going to see Vince McMahon in the cage of death anytime soon, or tournament of death anytime soon. You know, I think those days are behind him, Dave.
Mr. How old was he when he was in the? I think 50.
50. I was like early 50s at least. Like he wasn't that old.
I like how he wasn't that old because now we're in the era of freaking
where
Goldberg
he's really
having
old.
To wrestle against Drew McIntyre, and then he's going to win the championship, and Drew's never going to get to have it in front of a crowd unless the whole purpose is so that Drew wins it back in front of a crowd. Sorry, Derek, continue.
Can we not talk about Goldberg winning the title, please?
He's going to.
I know he's going
to take it to AEW and give it to Sting, and Sting's going to be like, "Hey, Undertaker, I'll wrestle you at WrestleMania for the belt, and WWE can get it back." See, I intrigued you, and that's what's wrong with wrestling, because you are wrong with wrestling, Derek. You are what's wrong with it.
I'd be okay with that. That's something that could happen. Let's do that. That's good. That's great. Yeah.
So we're straight up booking it. Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre for the title, WrestleMania evening gown swimming pool match.
They could do that, man. WWE could do that, and it just wouldn't even be weird. It wouldn't even be weird. It's like, okay, let's just throw it anyway. But look, the match ended really well. DX came out and celebrated. Obviously, he set up the first Stephanie McMahon Helms the era.
Time out. How old do you think Vince McMahon is?
Now 75.
81.
No way.
That's the reaction I just had when I wanted to
look at
how old he was in
no wonder he's
1999.
No wonder he's crazy as hell.
Oh, he was 60. I take back everything.
60?
He was 60 in 1999. Well, or 61 actually.
Yeah. Well, fair play.
Vince, I take back everything I ever said about you.
I told you, man. He was in there doing stuff.
I apologize.
He went in there, took those spots as a 60-year-old man.
You were getting AARP magazines mailed to you. I appreciate the fact that you get people with trash cans. I'm so sorry. I hope you enjoy your senior discount.
Please stop booking WWE. That would be nice. Can you
can't
not?
believe
Anyway,
he's 81.
I can. It explains an awful lot.
Well, it explains his promos in the
Yeah.
past 2 years. Yeah, unfortunately.
It's very upset when you see him on TV. I'm not gonna lie to you. I see. Here's the
I
thing,
get
right?
sad. I
I don't like seeing Vince like that.
I don't know.
It's really upsetting because you go back and you watch him like in 1989 and he's Vince McMahon. You know what I mean? It's
he
like
was 60. He was wrestling people half his age.
But like he's so larger than life, and you're just like, man, like you're him. You're not this shell, and that's kind of what I get. It's pretty upsetting. It's like I'm amazed no one has said it to him. I'm amazed Triple H or Shane haven't been like, listen, time to stop.
I think they have, because not this last one for Taker, which is what made me cry. And maybe that's because he was 81 years old and it really hit home. But there was when Shane came back initially and McMahon was more involved and stuff. I mean, the guy was still in his late 70s. But even if we fast forward to the past couple of years, they always have somebody in the McMahon family in the ring with Vince.
With him. Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Sometimes he'll start to wander a little bit, and I don't even want to talk about this anymore. Quite frankly, it's made me sad.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I agree with you, man. It's the same thing. It's like, I know we can come back harsh on Vince, but it's just because how we see him. I think everyone who's a wrestling fan sees Vince McMahon like this.
Like, you're supposed to hate him, but at the end of the day, you're going to.
You don't.
Him.
You don't. It's Vince McMahon. Like, it's just is what it is. Like, even though
married to Linda in 66.
It's crazy. But anyway, look, I would say for what this show was,
he was taking these bumps in this hardcore match at 61 years old.
I told you this. This is
this guy's insane.
One of my favorite things about the show, actually, guys, is that Dave didn't see this stuff growing up. I did, and he didn't get it when we would work in Recipe when he'd go off and make these crazy comments that made no sense. So I'm glad now that I'm glad now that he's like.
I was pumping out like 5,000 pages a week and 3 hours on podcasting. Sorry if I said a couple crazy things up in there.
It's true. No, it wasn't. No, you weren't wrong. It was just like
I'm never wrong. I know I wasn't wrong.
It was just that you haven't seen this stuff. I'm like, why isn't he talking about this kind of stuff? And now we know why. So I'm really enjoying the fact that I get to cherry pick history and show it to Dave.
Well, you can write a letter to my parents who didn't let me watch things because there were women in an evening gown match in a pool stripping, and they didn't think that was appropriate for their 8-year-old child to watch. So
it wasn't.
Send them a letter. Send them a letter, Derek. Go ahead.
Wasn't like, it was funny, oftentimes when Gary himself will talk about wrestling, it's like, I'm so glad my parents didn't care what I watched. It's like, yeah, me too. But it's funny, my grandmother would record these tapes for me, which was gas. That's how I found out about, that's how I got all my wrestling. My grandmother would record them for me. So the first time I watched Armageddon was on a tape that I got from my grandmother. So actually,
it's some soft chord, Dara. Enjoy.
Yeah, it's just like, here you go.
That's one of the things Dara and I have in common is our grandparents who really kind of snuck the wrestling into our life. So
it's wild.
Cool.
Although it's crazy, right? So all the shows here, though, this show would be on Sky Box Office, right? I know for you it was pay-per-view all the way up until the network. In Ireland and the UK, and even most of Europe as well, Sky would be the carrier, right? So I don't think I've talked about this, but anyways, would be the carrier. So you got a Sky subscription, and that would give you Raw. SmackDown was on Sky Sports 1, so it was free access, and Heat was on Channel 4. But what was weird about it was Channel 4 for like a year actually, even less, had Heat, and they got like some pay-per-views. So they got the Royal Rumble, right? But because of what was on the Royal Rumble, which we will get to, they never showed another pay-per-view again, and everything went back to Sky. So it's kind of funny.
That is actually a funny story, and also it sprung to mind yet another pay-per-view that we watched that had so much done on Heat in the hour leading up to it that actually mattered, that made me want to watch the Heat. We talk about it all the time, so I'm not going to go into it, but the pre-shows that we have now are not the way that they did pre-shows before.
They're not, and they're not even like, I watched the pre-show there for the last show. What was the last paper for TLC? And nothing happened. It was pointless. Jeff Jarrett showed
Survivor
up a couple
Series.
times. No, TLC was last.
Oh, right, because December exists.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a good show.
I watched the
But
first
like,
match.
fair.
Wait, did I?
But
That was the AJ match, right?
that was the AJ match.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
watched that one.
but yeah, man, like, that's what I mean. When you're watching these shows, it's just like there's so much more involved. It feels much more real. And what's funny about this whole pay-per-view, like what I say, look, the pay-per-view itself gets about a C, all right? If not a D, it's carried by 2 matches. But it's funny that it's a full pay-per-view where all the important stuff for the year happens on the Raw and SmackDowns leading into it, which is why when you if you just watch, and that's why we're not just going to go straight to the Royal Rumble. If you just watch this and not the Royal Rumble, it's going to make no sense. So we're going to have to watch. We're going to probably have to watch some more content to kind of get to the Royal Rumble. But that's going to do it for this show, Dave. What do you give the overall rating for this? What would you recommend this show? Would you?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I had like. Look, first of all, you saw how animated it made me. I was actually genuinely excited to A, get back to this show, and B, to get back to covering really fun shows. And I enjoyed it, top to bottom. Yeah. I mean, were some matches clunkers? Yeah, but there was still something fun, oddly, in them to enjoy.
There was, yeah. Absolutely.
So, like, even when we talk about, like, Boss Man versus Big Show, there were still some really cool spots in there that I loved. Before we go, I would like to say, I'm thinking back, I think we both said this, where Kane versus X-Pac is the match to watch. And then for hilarity's sake, watch the women's match. And for just context of what WWE would become, please watch Vince versus Triple H, because that, was huge. But I got to say this, you really can't skip out on that Kane match, because that was just way too good. And I miss that Kane doesn't do he doesn't wrestle now, but he stopped doing the sit-up, the Undertaker sit-up. And I love watching late 90s, early 2000s, because he was still doing that with his character. And, that's how I used to wake up in bed as like a wrestling fan. When I was little, I would be like, whoa, I'm doing the Undertaker. So, I don't know. It's a cool thing.
Look, you're in for a treat, man, because, we're turning into 2000s now. It's great. It's great times ahead. The great times roll, assuming we don't talk about WCW. But, we're going to cover some more stuff going into it. We might change up how we do it, because if we are following timelines, I want to make sure that we don't rush stuff. So I'm going to have kind of a think about what we're going to do. We have a back catalog of shows to do for people that recommended them, so we will get back to those. And if you like what we do, please subscribe to this channel, The Wrestling Rewind. If you guys are listening to us on Phoenix FM or on True Penny channel, literally type in The Wrestling Rewind into your browser right now, thewrestlingrewind.com, and it will take you right to YouTube. Subscription's been a lot to us. If you want to subscribe to Nerd to Know Media, you can too. That'd be great. But you want to support us, the best way to do it is subscribe, spread the word of the show, and contact us. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And thanks to James True Penny and the True Penny channel for having us on Phoenix 92.5 FM. We will be back next week to talk about, well, I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we will be back on Sunday to talk about the best of 2020 with some special guests. So we'll see you next week, or Sunday if you're listening to us on the stream, for the Wrestling Rewind. So bye, guys.